reading about TV and movie characters who deserve their own spin-offs. Somebody suggested Rose from Doctor Who. All right, let's make it clear. Anybody who likes Rose from Doctor Who, stop listening to my fucking podcast.
That's mean.
Garrett, you don't like Rose.
I mean, I don't like her, but I wouldn't shoo away a podcast listener over a character in Doctor Who you don't like.
I would. Fuck Rose. She sucked.
She sucked, but, I mean...
She was such an awful character that you pulled a convincing costume by making your hand talk like her.
I forgot I did that.
I will never forget you did that. That was a delight.
I was drunk that Halloween?
Yep.
Almost a New Year.
No, it was Halloween.
Because we were all.
Yeah, I know. I almost said New Year.
Yep, it was Halloweeny.
And on that note, hello and welcome to our show.
Hey, this is our show. We talk and you listen. Deal with it.
Tutors. You learn it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going through a rebranding phase, so we're gonna be more
Tutors.
cool, hip, and in your face with it. It's like when Nintendo did their whole like Attitude Era. Play it loud.
Guys, I have some really, really good news.
Okay, thank God. I thought you were gonna say bad news.
No, really good news. We
Good
officially
news, everyone.
have French approval. We had
Yeah.
a person on Twitter tell us that she's French and she thinks we're funny. So
She never said she thought the French jokes were funny.
no, she said I'm French and I heard the last podcast. It's all fine. It was funny.
Okay, good.
Clearly, we're hilarious.
We got our F word privileges. We can say all the slurs and stuff.
Now, Garrett, have a baguette. It's cool. It's exciting.
I saw it. So we have the A-OK to make fun of the French.
Yes.
Not make fun of them, but crack a joke or two.
But tell everyone to
good
eat
humor.
baguettes and send us berets. I almost said beignets.
You said we have a good show. You texted me earlier. You said,
did.
Garrett, we have a really good one tonight.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be long, but it's going to be good. We are going to talk about Robert Dudley. I know you guys don't know his name.
That's Harry Potter's cousin.
Fuck you. I was really excited because I
I'm
thought
dreading
you
this
knew who
episode
it
so much,
was.
even the dog is whining.
What did you say?
I said I'm dreading this long podcast so much that even the dog next to me is whining.
Oh, well, if you're dreading doing our podcast, you can just leave. Eric, you're the new
I'm
podcast
just very
host.
tired today.
All right.
It's been a whole week. But it's like school. You're like, oh man, I don't want to go to school. I wish I never had to go to school. But at the end, you're happy that you were there because you learned something and you made some friends along the way.
My podcast is like school? Fuck you.
Say it was a snow
It
day
is like
for
school
him.
because you're teaching me shit.
Nobody liked school except the nerds.
I'm a nerd.
I can't believe my podcast is school. Well, now I don't want to teach you. All right, that's it. Podcast canceled. Sorry, guys. I know he's there. I can hear the beep beep.
God damn it. Robert Dudley.
Beep, beep. Okay, let's pretend you didn't say that the podcast is like school because this is fun. Oh
It's the version of school that people like to go
God,
to.
I'm a
it's
fucking
that
nerd.
version of school that you're like, oh man, I can't wait to go to school. It's like the magic school bus.
How
Does
deep
that
it-
make me Miss Frizzle?
How deep is this hole right now, Garrett?
Yeah,
Like 6 feet?
But then
Yeah, you're digging, dude.
and then I'm Arnold.
Oh, you are Arnold. Arnold.
Please
So,
don't. Please let
Today,
this be a normal
kids,
field
we're going
trip.
to take our magic school bus into Henry VIII's reproductive system to figure out what the fuck was wrong.
Here you
my
see,
God,
flying by is the
I'd
syphilis.
pay good money for that episode. If I had won the jackpot lottery, I would have commissioned an entire episode about that.
Henry VIII's reproductive system. Syphilis and fucked up sperm.
But meanwhile, one of the kids has to like hang out outside the body to make
bus.
sure everything's okay. So that's like the B story.
It's Arnold.
It's definitely Arnold. And he's about to get beheaded.
Oh man, no, he's was it the towel boy?
Oh no. No.
He's got to catch Miss Frizzle and the rest of the gang.
Yeah.
He's a child.
Jesus, guys. Well, we just lost every single listener. Goodbye, folks.
We just earned that explicit hardcore.
Oh my god. We can't cuss the rest of the episode for
No,
what
no,
you
this
just
is
said.
this is our fanfic episode. Did you guys not know that this is our fanfic episode?
Speaking of, I haven't seen that go up yet.
No, sorry, I haven't put it up yet. Because I want to get it started with you, and so we have to talk about that. So it'll go
Okay.
up this week.
Okay.
Okay. Do you guys want to actually talk about what I had a
Robert Dudley?
schedule to talk about?
How long are you on this? What, like 45 minutes already, and we're about to talk about this?
No, I think we're only like 10 minutes of recording in, maybe 15. Sorry,
I'm at
guys.
14.
We're at 13 too. Oh well. First 5 minutes doesn't count. Okay, do you guys actually want to talk?
That's also the story of my sex life. First 5 minutes. don't count.
Hey ladies, Garrett's single.
Wink.
First 10 minutes don't count.
First.
This is going to be a good
Can't tell
one.
he's laughing or
So
crying.
I like to go and read the podcast reviews, and some people say, "I wish you would just stick to the history and stop with the weird side diversions
No.
and jokes." No.
We need to entertain ourselves
To
too.
be fair, if they're turned off by all the side diversions, they haven't made it this far.
Yeah, that's true. So,
The diehards love it.
no, there's just like some random person out there and he's like, I'll just start with the most recent episode. Robert Dudley sounds like a fascinating character. Miss
Or some
Frizzle
kid's
gets
gotta
jizzed
do,
into
like, a
a
book
towel.
Some kid's got to do a report on Robert Dudley. Like, okay, what do I need to know here?
Some kid's got to do this like multimedia report and he's like, I'll just pretend this is my own podcast. That's why you shouldn't steal, kids. Don't
the whole
steal
moral is
children,
this
and
episode
children
is no
don't
plagiarism.
steal.
Anyway,
Okay.
Robert Dudley.
let's start the show.
Actual history. June 24th, 1532. An
Dun, dun.
Earl is born. Did you just do dong dong?
Dun, dun.
In the criminal justice system. So our friend Bob Dudley, Bob Dud, he was part of a very large family. So maybe our listeners don't know this, but I am one of 11 children. I had a large Catholic family. Robert Dudley's family was larger. He was one of 13 children.
Ooh.
Yeah. He was the fifth son of John Dudley, who was the Duke of Northumberland. And he had a pretty good childhood because, you know, his dad was a duke, which is basically like a prince. So, he had a really good education. He was tutored by John Dee, who ended up being one of Queen Elizabeth I's BFFs. And Robert Asham, whatever the fuck you say his name as, him. He also tutored Elizabeth plus Jane Grey. So he had a really good education growing up. And then he married for love, which is super romantic. He was
Aw.
18 years old.
Aw, so cute.
Save those awes. It doesn't end up well.
Well,
so
it's history. I wasn't expecting it to.
he he married Amy Robsart, Robsart,
Well, that was his fault right there. He married someone who wasn't Catherine Anne or...
Yeah, no, that was a serious issue. No, so her name was Amy. How do you guys want me to pronounce this? Robsart. That sounds fun. We'll do Robsart. Thanks for your help.
No problem.
I was gonna say it
Okay, how do you want it to be pronounced?
the way you said it.
Robsart. So
King of the North.
Hey, that extra laugh, in case anybody heard it, is our single live audience member that is not Jeff this time. What? Oh, shut up. He just made a sad joke. So then he was about 18 years old when they got married, and he ended up becoming a member of parliament. Her family was super powerful. I want to say it was Norfolk, but to be honest, I didn't write that part down. But he ended up getting a lot of power in her area. They relied heavily on both of their parents to kind of give them the good start. They were clearly millennials. I can make that joke because I'm a millennial too. We're never going to retire. So he became a member of parliament, so that was pretty baller. And things were going pretty well until Edward VI died. So things were going fine for them during the end of Henry VIII's reign. They kind of escaped chopped Elizabethan times. And during Edward VI's times, things were kind of cool. But then when Edward died, the Duke of Northumberland, who was Robert Dudley's Daddy Dudley. So Daddy Dudley wanted to get power. He was the one who arranged for Jane Grey to be queen. So he married Jane to his second son. Okay, let's talk about a fucking awful name. So Robert, not bad. Guildford is the brother. Guildford? Guildford. Yeah. You can't even shorten that. There's no way.
Gilly.
Gilly, come down here. You're in so much trouble. So, but also he did have a brother named Ambrose, and we have a buddy named Ambrose. Holler to Ambrose. And I like to imagine that our buddy Ambrose is actually related to this Ambrose, and they just took his first name as their surname. So I'm going to pretend Ambrose is basically English royalty.
He pretty much is. Have you seen his hair?
God, he's majestic.
It is wonderful. But Guildford is not wonderful. Tell me. Furd. Furd is the word. Gilly or Furd? Let's go with Gilly. So Gilly married Lady Jane Grey. His father and Jane Grey's parents kind of forced them into it. And for those 9 days, the Northumberland Dudley clan partied for Jane. So Robert actually led 300 men into Norfolk, and he secured quite a few towns for Jane just to make sure that she would be queen. And that lasted for like 9 days. That's why she's called the 9 Days Queen, guys.
Who would have thought? But
then one of the towns he had secured was called King's Lynn. I don't know who this Lynn was, but she was lucky. King's Lynn, the townsmen were like, fuck you, Robert. So they grabbed him, seized him, and sent him to Mary, who had declared herself queen, and like the entire country was like, yeah, she's queen, guys. This is not cool.
Kingsland?
King's Lynn. Lynn.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out how it's spelled.
No, King's, as in he owns the Lynn.
Okay.
The Lynn of King. King's Lynn.
Right.
So things were not going so well because Robert and his four brothers and his father were all imprisoned in the Tower of London. So it was a dark time.
Man, that tower.
They were all... You know, it's interesting you say that because that tower wasn't really known as a prison until Henry VIII's time.
It just seemed convenient.
But it wasn't. It was a royal palace. It was a palace.
That's why I'm so fascinated because, like, you talk about how it's been used for so many different things, but every time we bring up in this podcast, it's always about
it's a prison.
Someone's just thrown up there to hide.
Well, they were put in the tower because they were nobility. So it wasn't like they were put in the dinkest of dungeons there. I don't actually know. But the tower was a palace. Yeah,
because in Doctor Who, it was a storage place.
It was what?
It was a storage area.
Yes, it was.
Or it was the office of the leader of unit.
So they were imprisoned in the Tower of London. They were all attainted for treason and condemned to death. So things weren't looking too good. Jeez. And their father was actually beheaded. Boo-hoo.
Sucks to be you.
At the same time, Robert was there. So that was 1550.
And Robert was there. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Just in the background.
So that was 1553. In February of 1554, Gilly was executed because there was another uprising.
Oh, my God.
I mean, he kind of sucked. Guildford was a twat.
Well, your name is Guilford. You kind of
I
earned
know.
You stand out, so like when you're looking at the list of who to behead, you see a million Henrys, a million.
Mary's just like,
Edwards.
Guildford.
Guildford, that sounds exotic.
Yeah, let's kill him. I don't like him. So at the same time, Robert Dudley was in the Tower. Elizabeth was in the Tower, Mary's sister, Henry's daughter, Elizabeth. So there was a thing called the Wyatt's Rebellion that popped up. And Mary thought that her sister was involved with it. She thought that the rebellion was started by Elizabeth to make Elizabeth queen. So
that's why they put her in there.
Elizabeth was put in the Tower. It wasn't really. I mean, she was kind of under arrest, but it was really more of like the investigation
it was like
part
Mary
of it.
Queen of Scots.
Kinda. So she was put there, and so they were both there at the same time. Don't know if they actually ran into each other, but they were both royalty-ish. Elizabeth was royalty-ish, and Robert was nobility. So they would have been given some freedoms, like to go on walks and shit like that.
Let's take her for a
You get
walk.
let out in the yard every once
They
in a
just
while.
yeah.
Lift some weights.
Elizabeth's just pumping iron, getting ripped.
Elizabeth the Swole.
She's just sitting there on a bench, just like pressing something, just like lift her arms.
Robert's making Pruno in the bathroom. For those who don't know, Pruno is toilet wine.
They've got hand-rolled cigarettes that they keep bartering. I like this story. Can we make Orange is the New Black, but with Elizabeth?
Oh, I was gonna say Oz, but I like yours too.
I'd rather do Orange is the New Black. I didn't see much of Oz.
Well, neither did I, but I know what it's about.
I think there's a wider audience for Orange is the New Black.
I've never seen it.
What should we call Orange is the New Black? Tudor Times. It's gotta have a name. What'd you say? Nope. Eric fails. Eric's our live guest. He fails. All right, we'll come back to that. So
I'm gonna shout it out in the middle of the podcast, and you're gonna laugh your ass off.
And I expect to, but please also pay attention because there are other funny things to laugh about. So Gilly was executed, but the other brothers were released, including Ambrose and Robert, because their mother and Robert's brother-in-law kind of tussled for them to be freed. So they paid the bail, begged the queen. She was like, all right, fine, get the fuck out of here. So
yeah, you little scamps.
So the Robert Dudley and his family, they kind of got pally with the new big players in town, the Spanish, because Mary I married a Spaniard, Philip, and so Philip was totally cool with the Dudleys. He was like, yeah, sure, they're totally cool. They're fine. But when Philip wasn't at court, which was quite often because let's be honest, he didn't like his wife, they weren't really welcome there. So they were only ever there on behalf of the Spanish. But slowly they kind of built back up their reputation with Mary, and eventually in 1558 they were quote unquote restored in blood by Parliament. So I'm assuming that means like, okay, you're fine, you're pardoned, you are recognized as like once again pseudo nobility. But I'm also totally picturing like a really metal like blood ceremony where they just like bathe them and
slice open a pig on top of them.
Yeah, like Carrie,
like a goat skull or something.
There's some candles, a few robes. It's all a good time.
That's exactly what I'm picturing. So that ceremony probably happened.
There's a great appetizers table at the side. Good dips and chips.
So things weren't going too bad. Not that great, but not too terrible. And then Mary died. So November 17th, 1558, she croaked.
Blech.
And also don't quote me on the November 17th. It might have been within a couple days of that. But 1558, she croaked. And On November 18th, Elizabeth received the Great Seal, which is not an animal.
Damn it.
Sorry, I saw your
Every
look.
time.
It's literally a giant seal, like huge wax. Like picture those wax seals that they used to seal envelopes and shit. It's like a huge one of those. Like
Kissed by a rose.
yeah, seal came and sang "Kissed by a Rose," and they gave her seal, and he serenaded her. It was actually quite beautiful. And then Michael Keaton was in the background. It was kind of cool.
That wasn't the Michael Keaton Batman. That would have been the
Val Kilmer.
Sorry,
It's Batman
guys.
Forever.
Oh,
Jeez.
sorry.
I
Get
had
your
that.
shitty Batmans right.
I had that soundtrack.
You shut your mouth. They were not shitty Batmans. George Clooney was a shitty Batman.
Not
Oh.
that they were shitty Batmans, just the movies were not that great.
Yes.
I liked them. Oh. Hey guys, fun fact. George Clooney is so ashamed of his role in
Batman and Robin.
the movie that I try to forget that he
The movie
keeps
that
a
shall not be named.
he keeps a picture of himself in the back suit as a reminder to not take movies for the money anymore. Can you imagine staring down that shame every day?
Oh, and he also like will give people their money back a lot.
Yeah. Like if people go to him and they're like, "We saw that movie in theaters," he's like, "Here's your money back." So I wonder if he adjusts it for inflation. So anyway, the actual Great Seal. Wow, we got distracted.
That was super sidetracked.
That was nothing
This is
new.
the most sidetracked podcast we've had in a long time.
Yeah. So after she's received the Great Seal, so now I can't stop thinking of Seal the singer. She on that same day made him Master of Horse, which was a super baller position apparently, and it made sure he was super close to his bestie Elizabeth because they were super tight. So he was kind of in charge of all the horses, but he had other roles, and it was funny because I was reading about this.
So that's a literal title. Like he is a master of horses.
That's one element of it because apparently he was well suited to the job because he was quote unquote, or he had quote unquote great professional interest in royal transport and accommodation, horse breeding, and the supplying of horses for all occasions.
That sounds like a boring hobby.
My favorite part was the beginning where he's really interested in royal transport. I'm like, you are the biggest fucking nerd,
How
dude.
did they get around?
He would constantly tend to Anne of Cleves.
Fuck you. Get out.
Every time.
You are banished. So he also oversaw the coronation festivities. So he did have some pretty cool portions of the job.
It's weird to think about all these different like really high end positions for different areas. Like I would honestly never
Yeah.
thought of someone's main position is just dealing with horses and transportation.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he's the Department of Transport.
Yeah.
he's the highway patrol of the Tudor times. He just like gallops behind somebody, like pull the horse over. So it was essentially a really good time for Robert. In April of 1559, so just like 6 months after Elizabeth became queen, he was elected as a Knight of the Garter. And he had so much influence over Elizabeth that a Spanish ambassador said that he was one of essentially 3 men actually running the country. And on many state occasions, he served as the official host. So that was a big deal because like when Henry was in court or in charge of the court running the country and shit, his wives would be official hosts when he couldn't be there, and when he didn't have a wife on those few occasions, his daughter Mary would usually serve. So him acting as official host was a huge deal, and it caused issues. So Elizabeth loved Robert. I don't think there's any doubt in the world about that. She was super into Robert and she loved him and would have liked to marry him, but it would have been a political issue. So
When has that stopped her family before?
well, she was smart because she knew that Mary's marriage to Philip was unpopular and it caused a lot of her political issues. and a lot of her political failings. So, and then she also saw her mother beheaded by her father. So she was not quick to jump into the marriage game. She also knew she couldn't tick off the country. Her great grandmother, Elizabeth's father's mother's mother.
Great grandmother.
Okay, so her great grandmother, Elizabeth Woodville, was a commoner and a local and just an English subject who married the king, and then she kind of loaded the court with her family and her favorites. So that also caused political issues. So Elizabeth would have known enough about that to know that she couldn't really marry Robert, no matter what anybody wanted or said or did. Her courtiers, the ones she actually listened to, they also didn't want this to happen. Robert loved her, but he also didn't want to lose the power he had to a king consort who, if Elizabeth had married, he would have been a king consort and she would have potentially listened to him. So he kind of inserted himself into whenever any man went up to Elizabeth and was like, hey, baby, he'd kind of slide right on it and be like, go away. So he caused a lot of issues, and it was eventually said that she will marry...
The royal cock block.
It was a super royal cock block. And it was eventually said that she will marry none but the favored Robert. Except she didn't. Spoilers.
Almost sounds like he was her gay bestie.
Not gay, though.
Well, he
Super
wasn't gay,
not
but
gay.
it sounds like he was.
Well,
that
she gotta
role.
keep that virgin
Like, I just
title
see-
up pretty long.
So
just see it.
here's the thing. There is a lot of debate about whether Elizabeth was actually a virgin. Because people wonder if she slept with Robert. Now, there's a lot of wondering about why Elizabeth never married. A lot of people believe it's because she was, emotionally destroyed by her father's
lifestyle.
Hold on. Look at the women. Look at the women that were fucked over by her father and her family, in general. He divorced his first wife, left her heartbroken, killed her mother. The stepmother, who then actually tried to care for her afterwards, died in childbirth. So there's a fear of childbirth. Then the last stepmother, who did care for her husband hit on Elizabeth, and then she died in childbirth, giving that husband a kid. It was not like she had nothing but bad examples for being a wife, not to mention Catherine Howard and Anne of Cleves. So that could have been Elizabeth's reason for not marrying. Some people believe that she actually had issues where she knew she wasn't going to be able to. She was sick a lot, and she had a lot of gynecological issues. So some people believe that she knew she wasn't able to bear children. So if she married someone and then didn't have children, shame on her. But if she never married someone...
Or she knew her genes were just that crazy, she didn't want to pass those on.
Or she knew her genes were just that crazy and she didn't want to pass them on. So, but that's where Robert comes in, because a lot of people wonder if she actually was sleeping with him. A lot of people wonder if she was sleeping with Robert. You can't really know. But he was a favored courtier, and she adored him. So of course there were tons of plots to kill him, and he actually started wearing a coat of mail underneath all of his clothes. And of course there were rumors that Elizabeth had borne his children. So of course. And there were also rumors that since Robert was married to his robesart, to Amy, he was just waiting for his wife to croak so he could marry Elizabeth. So there were also rumors that he was planning on killing her. Elizabeth didn't care for Amy Dudley, of course, because she was probably in love with Robert. And Robert didn't actually see her very much. A lot of it was because Elizabeth didn't really allow Robert away from court. But also, I don't think he really cared as much once he was in love with Elizabeth.
This sounds like a rom-com.
It's less rom, more sad.
My best friend's wedding.
It's a cry-com because Amy was found dead. And she was found dead in September 1560 at the bottom of stairs. And of course, there was instant thought that Robert had her killed so that he could marry Elizabeth. Robert tried very.
Now it sounds like a sexual thriller.
It really is. Like I feel like this would be something Glenn Close would have been in with Meryl Streep.
Or this was like, here we see the world turns.
Yeah, it's very soap opera-y. So Dudley was like, fuck. And he was like, inquest. I want to know how this happened. Blah, blah, blah. So he kicked up a fuss to find out how it had happened. And it was really to prove his own innocence. He probably cared a little bit. I don't think he was heartless. But, of course, he was suspected. And there were even those who actually believed him innocent, but they feared his influence over Elizabeth, and they were worried he would marry her. So they kind of pushed the rumor forth to ensure he really wouldn't marry Elizabeth. So he did continue to pursue Elizabeth, but it was more like that courtly kind of stuff. They knew nothing could happen. Nothing did happen.
God, this sounds like so many different tropes from so many different sitcoms and movies and TV shows and everything.
And this is actual history. This isn't like fiction. This is actual like stuff happened.
They've got that will they won't they dynamic.
Yep, and in the end they don't.
I love it.
So he still had a ton of power to the point where in 1562, when Elizabeth had smallpox, everybody thought she was going to die. She thought she was going to die. So she named Dudley Protector of the Realm, meaning he was essentially king. She wanted him to have a title and £20,000 per year to support that. £20,000 per year in 1562. So he would have been good. Everybody was incredibly relieved when she recovered. And in fact, everybody was so relieved that they're like, okay, Dudley, you can be on the Privy Council. So he was brought into that innermost circle where he actually would have been giving official advice, not just, everyday advice. So, this is a long one, guys.
I mean, the guy was pretty active in history.
Absolutely. And there's still more, guys. We're only in 1563. So in 1563, when it was realized that Mary couldn't really marry Dudley, and Mary, Queen of Scots, was freshly widowed, Elizabeth suggested Robert as her consort. So he was named the Earl of, I'm going to spell this, and I want you guys to try and pronounce it. Leicester.
Leicester.
Yeah, Jeff's got it.
Only reason I know is because of the Brit that was on our show.
Hooray, Brit. It is Leicester. So he is named, come on, British, what the fuck? You're missing
Leicester.
It should be Leicester or Leicester. I don't understand why it's Leicester. Fucking ugh.
Leicester the molester.
So he's named the Earl of Leicester in 1564, in part so that he would have a title worth a queen consort or a queen to marry. So kind of made him look a little more appealing. And it reached the point where Elizabeth told Mary, hey, I'll name you my heir if you marry Dudley. And that's what Mary, Queen of Scots, had been kind of aiming for. Was she was like, look, I'm your heir. Just name me your heir. I'm your heir. God damn it. So in January 1565, she finally accepted. However, Dudley was like, no, I'm good. So he said no. And there were still people going after Queen Elizabeth. There were still princes from across the globe that wanted to marry Queen Elizabeth. But they knew Robert was an obstacle. So they all started throwing princesses at Robert Dudley to try and get him, just be like, lock him down with someone else so that he goes away. And the queen will be like, okay, well, I may as well marry now.
Get this man laid.
Right. He just kept saying no to all of them. German and French princesses.
No. Let me guess. You have a nice
great personality. And in fact, Robert sabotaged a lot of marriage prospects for Elizabeth. I didn't get any details from that. I wish I had, because that sounds very rom-com-y. So he still had a ton of power, like I said. He actually had apartments right next to Elizabeth's, and he was the most influential of all her courtiers. And I already said this, she was incredibly possessive. He was rarely allowed to leave her, and he basically acted as a consort. Oh, this part's funny. So apparently he had a lot of interest in random ass shit, and he actually got
Besides horses and transportation?
no literal shit. He inspired John Harrington to construct the first water closet, which is a toilet, like a bathroom. So his name is John, though.
Oh.
I know.
From now on, the all rooms will be called
John's.
John's.
So his dad, I told you guys his dad had been executed, and he was executed as a traitor. So that meant the entire family lost their fortune. So he was broke as shit, but trying to support this really lavish lifestyle. So he ended up taking out huge sums in loans to support that lifestyle of the rich and famous.
I need to take a loan out for what? To party.
Yeah. Welcome to the 1980s in New York. No, but I totally imagined lifestyles of the rich and famous like that. Who's the guy who did that?
Robin Leach.
Oh, there we go. Can you do a Robin Leach voice?
The lifestyles of the rich and famous. That's what I remember him sounding
That's
like.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
No.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Oh.
They're
It
always
was like
complaining,
it was like
always complaining.
it was like Cribs except before Cribs.
Oh, right. Because they're talking about all
That's
the rich
exactly
things.
what it was.
Yeah. It was
You
kind
would
of
probably know it from an Animaniacs parody,
probably.
which is what I think I know it from.
Do you guys want to know where I heard it first? The Good Charlotte song, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
You're so young and so precious.
It's always remember all the
Of the rich and the
stupid shows where talking to
famous.
celebrities like, here, Brad Pitt and
Yes!
Angelina Jolie spent $2 million on a yacht
$2 million
Yes.
for a yacht is very little.
that was covered in baby gold.
Oh, that's
they're gonna
even
say
no. You
bees.
need to be spending more on a yacht. $18 million. So I want lifestyles of the rich and the famous, but like the Tudors.
Henry
be-
spent 300,000 pounds on
On
a cod piece.
On gold monkeys.
On gold monkeys.
I want to see actual Cribs with Henry now. He's like, yo,
I-
welcome to my field of cloth and gold.
this is where the magic happens.
He
But
says
it's
that
actually
every
the
time he enters
execution
room.
block.
A lot of stuff happened there. Kind of cool. Let's check out my closet. Here, got
It's
some
just
different
cod
cod pieces. You know, for different moments.
Oh, it does a thing where he opens his closet of cod pieces and it does the 3 cuts in a row of him opening the door.
And then it does that glittery overlay thing.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
God, why don't
Welcome to my none such palace.
Y'all know why I call it none such? Because there's none such like it, baby.
Oh. I really wish this existed. Cribs
We can
with
make it.
Henry. Welcome to my crib. Oh my God, I'm just imagining like the British gangster look on
And
Henry
they always
VIII.
show off the refrigerator and there's nothing in it.
And he's Henry the VIII.
It's just nothing but crystal. That's how it was, man.
Except he's dressed as Henry the VIII, guys. Shutter shades and everything.
Okay, we'll just take the Kanye episode of Cribs and just
I
superimpose
really think
Henry's
that's
face on it.
yeah. I think that's
That
appropriate.
requires much less effort. Jeff, get on it.
Jeff, do that. Once you're done editing this podcast, make my
Make it so
entertainment.
number one.
Yes, ma'am.
So he was weird. He did some weird shit, but he also did some kind of cool stuff. He created Lord Leicester's Hospital, and it was for aged and injured soldiers, and that is actually still functioning today.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So here's one of my favorite things that I learned. In July 1970, or what the fuck? I wrote 1975. No. 1575.
It was the boogiest of the years.
Through a raging disco. Cher was there. In July of 1575, in what was an allegorical bid for the Queen's hand, he threw a 19-day festival.
A disco.
It was a disco. You guys are going to laugh so hard. So it included a lady of the lake, which I silly started thinking of the watery tart.
Moist binks and pawns throwing out weapons is not a good way for
Bint. It's a bint. You keep saying binks. It's bint.
like Jar Jar Binks.
No, it's Jar Jar Bint. So he had some watery tarts, and there were fireworks, masks, hunts, bear baiting.
What?
Oh,
Have you guys ever heard of bear baiting? It was
I think I have.
pretty
yeah.
fucking
Please,
cruel.
please tell
Go
me
watch
it's
go watch Pocahontas 2.
Please tell me
Voyage to a New
please tell
World.
me it's BAIT.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. So the bear baiting, it was bear fighting with
Jesus,
dogs.
this fucking
essentially.
episode.
It was bears fighting against dogs. It was pretty fucking cruel.
Oh man.
You saw it in Game of Thrones.
Was it like that episode of Game of Thrones
Yes.
when they throw Brienne in
Exactly.
there? Okay.
That episode of Game of Thrones where with Brienne and the bear, that was bear baiting, except with the dog instead of a Brienne. What are you laughing at?
Sorry, I'm horrible.
He's
Yes,
thinking
you
about
are.
jacking off a bear.
I'm
All right.
you there, bear fucker. Do you need assistance?
Okay, wait. I didn't get to the best part. He had a paper mache dolphin.
What?
It gets better.
No.
With
No,
a,
shut it down. We're good. What?
It gets better. He had a paper mache dolphin. Stop laughing. I can't say it.
How can you stop laughing at that? That is fucking hilarious.
With a little I feel like I need to type this. With a little orchestra in its belly.
What? An orchestra? Like real people orchestra?
I don't know. It says a little orchestra in its belly.
Maybe it was just like a little nativity scene or something. Like a creche.
like little diorama of a full
Yeah.
symphony.
It was for their community college project.
He tried to pass off as abstract art, but nobody was falling for it.
Stupid fish.
Jeff's dying over here.
I'm just a paper mache dolphin.
With a little orchestra in its belly.
Were they
the
playing
fuck?
What?
I don't
Were they
know.
playing the Jaws
there-
theme?
Yes. John Williams was there. So, even though he wasn't really hooked up with Elizabeth, he still needed to get laid. So he had a pretty serious relationship with a woman named Douglas Sheffield.
Did you say Douglas?
Douglas. And
Her name was Douglas?
I guess so.
Oh man, if he married her, she could have been Douglas Dudley.
Wait, if it's Douglas and history lies to us sometimes, maybe he was her gay best friend.
This is Doug.
Well, I don't think it was a man because she gave him a son named Robert.
That's what they all say.
You can find a young English moppet anywhere nowadays.
Shut the fuck up.
Like the streets are just lousy with them.
Look, if Queen Elizabeth was replaced with one, I'm sure Robert Dudley could have found one too. So, you guys, we were totally getting away from the Elizabeths and Annes and Marys because
Thank
Robert eventually met the first cousin, once removed of the Queen. So it was Mary Boleyn's daughter's daughter. Got it?
Got it.
You remember Mary Boleyn?
Sure.
Anne's sister.
Yes.
Anne's sister. She banged the king
Yeah.
first. So actually, if Mary Boleyn's daughter was actually the king's daughter, that's actually her niece.
Huh.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? History. So, you need to put some like magical music in after I say history. History.
Put an echo in there.
Do do do.
So her name was Lettice. Yeah, I knew you'd laugh about that. Jeff, I want that for our child's name.
Latisse.
Lettice, not Lise. Stop.
Did she ever become a queen?
No.
She's gonna die real quick.
Well, she had no royal claim. She was...
I just want to hear Queen Latifah.
Well, Jeff's dead.
oh God, I was drinking water when you said that.
I think it's that funny.
So
I'm glad you liked it.
they were flirting pretty heavily. She was married to the Earl of Essex, so she was the countess. And they probably hooked up once or twice, and then luckily her husband died, so things were going great. Of course, Robert was accused of poisoning him because he's just like this really is an order of Law and Order SVU.
Man,
except
Robert's
with
murdering everybody around here.
yeah, everybody's dead because of Robert.
He's like, can a guy catch a break?
Right?
Oh, come on.
So he wanted to get serious with Lettice, so he ended his relationship with Douglas. He actually ended up getting main custody of their son, and she kind of had visitation rights, and she was, I guess, fine with that. And his son was given a great education by Robert. He apparently loved him. And he secretly married Lettice Knollys on September 21st, 1578. The queen did not know, and she wouldn't have been happy. And in fact, when she found out 9 months later, she was not happy. She...
It feels like a Arrested Development moment of the narrator.
And in fact, she wasn't
Turns
happy.
out she wasn't happy.
Elizabeth was pissed. She called Lettice a she-wolf and Dudley a cuckold. I've been cuckolded.
Oh, man, let's bring back that
I'm a
insult. I love
cuckold.
that.
I know.
No, let's not bring that back.
No, I
It's
love
already
it.
been co-opted.
I'm a cuckold. David Lindhagen cuckolded me.
Oh,
Fucking
God.
love that movie. And because Elizabeth hated Lettice, her social life sucked after that. But Lettice did end up they had another son, another Robert. So Robert Dudley had two sons named Robert, both of whom lived with him.
Super
He's
original.
like, what's his name? George Foreman.
Yes. Oh God, I forgot about that. They called
I think I've made that joke about somebody else already in this podcast, but it's happening again.
probably Henry, or Edward or Elizabeth. They all had multiple children with the same names. It was really irritating.
Minister of the
No, you
Darkborn.
probably made it about Charles Brandon because he had three sons named Henry, I think.
Yep, I did that.
Real looking for that forgiveness still.
So they called their son Lord Denby, whatever. It didn't really matter because unfortunately when he was 3, he died. Very sad.
I think it's Denby.
Yeah. But he was a devoted stepfather to his 4 children, Lettice's children from her first marriage. And he worked very hard for the advancement of his stepson, Robert Devereux, who was the 2nd Earl of Essex. So he was politically, he was pretty smart. He worked pretty close with the Secretary of State, Walsingham. And he was all for a militant Protestant foreign policy. So not quite sure exactly what that means. It's just he was political. He was smart. But he also had his vices because he joined the Tudor equivalent of a gentleman's club.
Ooh.
It was called the Inner Temple. I know. So when he was admitted as like the super gentleman, and his title was Lord and Governor. And he organized activities and performed in the temple. Not a clue what that means, but I'm pretty sure they're Illuminati.
He was a Fredo.
What? Isn't that the guy from Lord of the Rings?
God damn it.
It's the guy from Godfather 2.
Yeah. Essentially a pimp.
You know, I was going to make a pimp joke. No, I'm pretty sure they were Illuminati.
Yeah, probably too.
They're probably if you're doing something called performing in a temple, you're Illuminati. But it's so weird because like he did that, but then he was also the chancellor at Oxford and he was super devoted to Oxford. But then he was just a really interesting guy. He was very much supportive of actors and painters. He was the first person, I guess, I'm not sure if it was noble or person, in England to get a license so that he could have his acting troupe travel the country without getting arrested for vagrancy. He was super Protestant, although he still employed Catholics. And he was actually involved in a manner with the Armada. So when the Armada started approaching England in 1588, Elizabeth appointed him the Lieutenant and Captain General of the Queen's Armies and Companies. It's not a short name. But when Elizabeth gave her famous Armada speech, he walked along her horse with her. So he was super involved with it. And
Well, it's because he was charge of horses.
I think he probably got promoted by that time.
He was there for the horses.
He was there for,
He's really
horsey moral support.
Fascinated by that transportation.
How did you guys do this?
Wow, impressive.
So why did I just hear that as Sam the Eagle? Impressive.
That was impressive.
That was impressive. Good job.
That's why I married him, for that Sam the Eagle voice.
This is very the British way.
That's good.
I love him. So after the Armada fucked the shit up, they did not do good. He rode in splendor through London, and they said it was as a king. So it was pretty good for him. But on September 4th, 1588, he died very suddenly. He was on his way somewhere, and he kicked the bucket.
Really?
Yeah, so they think he either had malaria or stomach cancer. Elizabeth was devastated. She locked herself in her apartments for a couple of days, and he had sent a letter to her a couple days prior, like a week prior or something, and she kept that letter next to her bed in a treasure box for the rest of her life, and she wrote on the outside of the letter his last letter. So she was clearly in love with him.
Oh man.
But guys, that is Robert Dudley, Master of Horse.
And friend zoner.
If he was banging her, that's not a friend zone. So now class, repeat back to me. What did I just teach you?
Robert Dudley, he was very good friends with Elizabeth. You could tell that they kind of had a thing together, but they could just, they never could really make it work. He really loved horses.
Yes, he did.
But he was a good dude. He married some lady, and he had some stepkids, and he was very good to them.
Good call.
You should do this at the end of every episode.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Anything else for us?
I keep moving the mic. All right, I'm done.
All right.
Man, Dudley had a busy life.
Yeah, he did.
That was what you would call a long one.
It was a long one. I thought it was a good one, though.
No,
it was good.
There was a lot that happened with him.
Yeah, and there was a ton more that I just cut out. So,
Robert Dudley, Part 2.
Yeah.
Even Dudleyer.
Dudley Do Right.
Episode title.
Oh, that's it. Dudley Do Right.
Robert Dudley Do Right.
Hey, Garrett, you never came up with a thing you were supposed to come up with. What was he supposed to come up with? Orange is the New Black.
Show?
Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, I kept trying throughout the episode. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull it together. It's one of my greatest failures.
I'm sure you failed a lot harder than this.
I'll ask my parents.
Aww.
Womp, womp, womp.
Boo. Hey, guys, find us on Twitter at Tudor
Yeah.
Know Her. I just had a wonderful person send me a tweet from the British Museum.
Saying that we've been accepted as an official
Yes.
source of information for all museum
You guys.
stuff.
Oh, God.
Queen Elizabeth I was crowned on this day in 1559. It is July 5th. It is January 15th. It is not July. It is January. I may wish it was July. But I was sent on Twitter that tweet along with a miniature gold portrait. It was pretty cool. Oh, it was made by Nicholas Hillard. That was one of the guys Dudley actually really liked.
Huh.
So thank you, Sherry Ann,
Cool.
for sending that. So you can send that. You can send us shit or talk to me or tell me how wrong I am or endorse our podcast on behalf of your entire country. You can also find us on Facebook. We're just at Tudor I Hardly Know Her. And that's it for the social.
Yeah. We do a lot of interactions on there, so
Tons. It's fun. I love it.
feel free to message us.
One day we're gonna start up that fan fiction byline.
No, we're going to. I'm going to make Garrett stay on the phone with me, stay on Skype so that we can figure out how to start it. Oh, womp
Okay.
womp.
All right. So until next time.
Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Goodbye.
Bye.
Never in sync ever.
Bye, bye, bye. That's what Justin Timberlake.
Okay, I'll let you out. Jesus.
That's what Justin Timberlake